The deadliest blows are rarely struck by strangers. History whispers the same truth again and again. It is not the enemy at your gates who destroys you. It is the hand resting on your shoulder. The paradox is haunting. The closer someone stands, the deeper they can wound. Why is betrayal almost always born from intimacy? Why do the faces we trust, friends, lovers, allies, so often become the ones that break us? The answer is not simple cruelty. It is proximity itself. To be close is to see your weaknesses, to know where your armor cracks, to hold secrets that could shatter you. Machiavelli understood this dark law of power, that danger grows sharper in the shadows of love and loyalty. This is not paranoia, it is survival. To see clearly is to live. To be blind is to fall by the knife behind the smile. The most dangerous place is often the place you feel most safe. Human beings are wired to lower their defenses around those they trust, family, lovers, and close friends. We interpret closeness as protection, as if intimacy itself were a shield. Yet this instinct, once necessary for survival in tribes and families, has turned into a silent weakness in the modern world. The very people who share your table, your secrets, your trust, are the only ones who could truly destroy you. With an enemy, the danger is clear. You know their intentions, you expect their strikes, and you prepare for defense. But with those closest, the threat is invisible. They smile while studying your weaknesses. They offer comfort while collecting your secrets. And because you believe you are safe, you never notice the subtle erosion of your power. This illusion of safety is the perfect camouflage for betrayal. It blinds you to motives that shift quietly in the dark. Jealousy, resentment, ambition. A friend may envy your success. A partner may resent your strength. A sibling may compare themselves endlessly to you. These feelings do not announce themselves openly. They simmer in silence until one day they take form as a blade to your trust. Machiavelli observed that rulers rarely fell by open battle alone. They fell by advisors, brothers, wives, and allies who were close enough to see where the cracks in the crown existed. A general outside the palace could only speculate about weakness, but a confidant inside knew exactly where to strike. Intimacy is access, and access is danger. The deeper problem is that our minds equate comfort with safety. When someone has been close to us for years, we assume their loyalty is fixed. We tell ourselves, they would never do this to me. That very belief creates blindness. You ignore warning signs. You excuse small betrayals. You convince yourself that comfort is proof of trustworthiness. Yet it is precisely this comfort that opens the gates to ruin. Think of history's greatest betrayals. Caesar and Brutus, kings poisoned by their own kin, leaders sabotaged by loyal friends. None of these downfalls came from distant enemies storming the gates. They came from those within the circle of trust. The illusion of safety made the betrayal not only possible, but inevitable. The dark insight is this: betrayal cannot exist without closeness. A stranger cannot betray you, only a trusted one can. And the more safe you feel, the more vulnerable you are. Safety, then, is not the absence of danger, it is the mask that hides it. To see this clearly is uncomfortable. It feels unnatural to look at those we love and admit they hold the power to hurt us most. Yet refusing to see is even more dangerous. The illusion of safety is not protection. It is the silent invitation to betrayal. From childhood, you are fed a story. Family is forever, friends are loyal, and true partners will never betray you. Movies, culture, and traditions all sing the same tune. Your loved ones are your shield against the world. This myth is so deeply woven into society that questioning it feels unnatural, even offensive. Yet history, psychology, and bitter experience reveal a darker truth. Loyalty is fragile, and when tested by jealousy, greed, or ambition, it collapses like glass. The story of Cain and Abel is among the oldest reminders. It wasn't a stranger who shed the first blood. It was a brother. The bond of family did not protect Abel, it destroyed him. Centuries later, Julius Caesar believed himself untouchable with loyal allies at his side, only to fall beneath the knife of Brutus, the friend he trusted most. Betrayal stings not because it comes from an enemy, but because it comes from someone we thought would never harm us. Even in modern politics and business, the lesson repeats endlessly. Leaders are undone not by their opponents' attacks but by betrayal within their own inner circle. Allies switch sides when opportunity offers them more. Friends turn into rivals when power, money, or recognition is at stake. And partners, those who once swore eternal devotion, often abandon loyalty when resentment, insecurity, or temptation grows stronger than love. The brutal truth is this: people protect themselves first, not you. No matter how close they seem, self-interest always lurks beneath the surface. When survival, ambition, or personal gain demands it, the bond of loyalty shatters. The myth that loved ones will always protect you is not only false, it is dangerous. It blinds you to the reality that everyone, even those closest, weighs loyalty against their own needs. Society glorifies loyalty as eternal, but Machiavelli understood it differently. He wrote that men are fickle, bound by obligation only until a better opportunity arises. Affection, he argued, is temporary. Self-interest is eternal. A friend may love you today, but if tomorrow your success threatens their sense of worth, or your downfall benefits them, that love evaporates into betrayal. The danger of this lie is that it disarms you. Believing in guaranteed loyalty makes you careless. You share secrets you should guard. You let others close enough to see your weaknesses. You assume their happiness is tied to your survival. But human nature is not built on such guarantees. It is built on shifting sands of desire, fear, envy, and ambition. The first step to destruction is believing that closeness equals safety, that love equals protection. To believe this lie is to hand over your power willingly. The wise do not expect eternal loyalty. They understand that even in love, even in friendship, self-interest waits like a shadow. The mask of devotion can vanish in an instant, revealing the knife behind the smile. Machiavelli was ruthless in his honesty about human nature. He observed that rulers rarely fell because of the armies marching at their gates. More often, they were undone by the hands that served them food, carried their messages, or swore undying loyalty in whispered oaths. The courtier, the brother, the advisor, these were the true architects of downfall. For an enemy outside can only guess where the cracks lie, but those within the circle of trust see every fracture. Proximity is power. To be close is to watch how you react when you are afraid, to hear the truths you would never confess publicly, to study the patterns of your strengths and your blind spots. An enemy must speculate. A friend knows. A rival at a distance can only imagine your weaknesses, but the person beside you holds the map to your destruction. This is why Machiavelli warned rulers to be cautious not only of open threats but of the intimacy of trust. History supports his insight. Kings were poisoned by wives who once vowed devotion. Generals were betrayed by lieutenants who once pledged loyalty. Caesar, surrounded by allies, fell not to foreign armies but to the blade of Brutus. Proximity turning friendship into assassination. The closer someone stands, the easier it becomes for them to replace admiration with envy, loyalty with resentment, and protection with ambition. Machiavelli's philosophy cut against the comforting lies of his time. While society celebrated the bonds of family and friendship, he examined them as tools of survival and weapons of destruction. He argued that rulers must see intimacy not as a sanctuary but as a battlefield where danger hides behind smiles. The very act of being trusted creates temptation, for knowledge is leverage, and leverage is power. Contrast this with an external enemy. An enemy outside your walls might roar with fury, but their ignorance keeps them at a disadvantage. They do not know the cracks in your armor, the secrets of your alliances, or the quiet doubts in your heart. But a trusted ally knows exactly which words will break you, which flaws to expose, which weakness to exploit. Distance limits danger. Intimacy magnifies it. This is Machiavelli's dark mirror. Closeness is not inherently safety but risk. The greater the intimacy, the greater the opportunity for betrayal. And betrayal is never random. It is born from the insight that only proximity provides. Those who love you see the depths of your vulnerability. And when envy or ambition stirs, they know exactly how to turn that knowledge into a weapon. Machiavelli's warning is not meant to destroy trust, but to sharpen awareness. Power demands vigilance, even in the most familiar places. To survive, you must remember this brutal paradox. It is not the distant enemy who holds the knife. It is the hand you once clasped, the smile you once trusted, the intimacy you mistook for safety. In proximity, danger is born. The most dangerous people in your life are rarely the ones who scowl at you openly. They are the ones who smile, who congratulate you, who embrace you while quietly measuring the weight of your success against their own. Affection, in the world of power, is not always the language of love. It is often the camouflage of ambition. From history to modern life, the story repeats itself. Advisors to kings would bow deeply, profess loyalty, and call themselves servants of the crown, all while plotting to one day wear that crown themselves. Their kindness was never devotion. It was a mask, a performance to stay close enough until the moment was right to strike. Friends who laugh with you at the table may secretly compare every accomplishment, quietly resenting your rise because it reflects their stagnation. Even partners or siblings who offer comfort might harbor envy that festers into betrayal. The mask of affection works precisely because it disarms. When someone shows hostility, you are ready. You defend yourself, raise your guard, prepare for conflict. But when someone showers you with kindness, you relax. You share secrets. You lower your defenses. You give them access to your vulnerabilities. This access is exactly what ambition craves. A predator in plain sight is easy to avoid. A predator smiling at your side can strike when you least expect it. Machiavelli understood this double edge of human interaction. He warned that men are not bound by affection, but by necessity and ambition. When affection aligns with ambition, it appears real. But when ambition turns against you, the mask of kindness falls away, revealing the hunger underneath. This is why rulers, generals, and leaders who trusted too deeply in affection often met their downfall. Not because their enemies hated them, but because their closest allies wanted what they had. The psychology behind this is simple. Humans are competitive by nature. Proximity magnifies comparison. The closer someone is to you, the more they measure themselves against you. A stranger may admire your success, but a friend may feel overshadowed by it. A colleague may applaud your promotion publicly while resenting it privately. The deeper the affection appears, the more powerful the mask becomes, concealing jealousy and ambition until the opportunity arises to reveal the truth. This is the predator's mask. Affection that hides intent, kindness that conceals calculation, loyalty that disguises hunger. It is not always malicious in the beginning. Sometimes ambition grows slowly, fed by envy and resentment. But the mask remains until the day it drops. And when it does, the betrayal feels catastrophic, not because it was sudden, but because you never saw the predator behind the smile. The dark truth is this: affection is not always love. Sometimes it is a weapon. Sometimes it is the mask a predator wears not to protect you, but to get close enough to take what you will not give. The wise learn to look past the mask and see the ambition hiding underneath. Dependency is the quiet chain that binds people, not through force but through need. When you rely on someone emotionally, financially, or socially, you hand them a weapon sharper than any blade: leverage. This is why those closest to us so often become the most dangerous. Dependency turns affection into control, trust into vulnerability, and proximity into power imbalance. History is filled with rulers who fell into this trap. Kings who relied too heavily on their generals soon found themselves dethroned, the soldiers' loyalty shifting to the man who actually commanded them in battle. Emperors who leaned on advisors for counsel were often outmaneuvered by those very advisors, who used influence to steer decisions for their own gain. The more a leader depended on others, the more those allies began to taste their own authority, and eventually seize it. Dependency always shifts the balance. The same principle unfolds in everyday life. A person who depends financially on a partner often finds their freedom slowly eroded. Their choices, voice, and even self-respect begin to bend under the weight of that dependency. Friends who cling emotionally to another become easy to manipulate, their fear of abandonment used against them. In workplaces, an employee who relies entirely on a single mentor or superior for advancement may be exploited, pressured into loyalty, and discarded once no longer useful. Dependency is seductive because it feels safe. To lean on someone is to feel supported, to find comfort in not facing the world alone. But safety born of reliance is an illusion. The more you lean, the less you stand on your own. And when betrayal comes, it cuts deeper because it removes not just trust but stability itself. The closer you cling, the sharper the knife when it finally arrives. Machiavelli warned rulers against this very weakness. A prince, he argued, must avoid dependency, for it makes him a servant to those he should command. If a ruler depends on mercenaries, they control his fate. If he depends too much on the goodwill of others, his reign is at their mercy. True power lies in independence, the ability to act without being bound by another's will. Contrast this with the illusion of strength that dependency creates. A ruler surrounded by powerful allies may appear secure, but in reality, he is caged. A person in a relationship who cannot breathe without the other may think they are loved, but in truth, they are trapped. Dependency gives the appearance of closeness while secretly planting the seeds of control. The brutal truth is this: the moment you cannot imagine life without someone, you have already surrendered a piece of yourself. Dependency is not loyalty, and it is not love. It is a silent contract that ensures when betrayal comes, it will not just wound you, it will undo you completely. Independence preserves strength. Dependency breeds the sharpest betrayals. The wise know this and never allow their survival to rest in another's hands. Jealousy is not the enemy's weapon. It is the silent poison brewed in the hearts of those closest to you. Enemies may hate your power, but they do not live in its shadow. It is the friend, the sibling, the lover who feels your success as their failure. They see your rise not from a distance, but from inches away, where admiration easily twists into resentment. This is why jealousy within the inner circle is so dangerous. It is hidden beneath intimacy. A stranger can envy you, but their envy rarely cuts deep. A brother resenting your inheritance, a friend watching your career advance, or a lover fearing they might be replaced. These carry jealousy that corrodes silently, feeding betrayal long before it surfaces. History echoes with examples. Cain and Abel, the first story of murder, was not about strangers but brothers. Julius Caesar was not brought down by rival kings but by Brutus, the man he trusted. Kings and emperors were overthrown not only by enemies at the gate but by courtiers who could not endure standing in another man's shadow. Jealousy within the circle poisons loyalty, because it mixes love and resentment into a toxic brew. The psychology behind this poison is simple but brutal. Those closest to you know your strengths intimately, but they also know your weaknesses. They see your triumphs daily, which magnifies their own inadequacies. A friend might celebrate your success outwardly, but inside, every victory of yours reminds them of their stagnation. A sibling may love you deeply, but the constant comparison burns their pride. A partner may adore you, yet the fear of losing your attention to someone else gnaws at their confidence. The closer they stand, the more your success becomes their silent wound. Jealousy in the inner circle is more dangerous than hatred outside because it hides behind affection. An enemy's strike is expected, you can defend yourself. But jealousy from someone who smiles at your table, who holds your hand, or who whispers promises of loyalty is a strike you do not see coming. The mask of closeness makes the betrayal feel like shock, when in truth it has been growing for years. Machiavelli knew this truth. He warned rulers that the people they should fear most are not those shouting against them in the streets, but those flattering them in private halls. Envy, he noted, grows strongest where intimacy lives, because comparison is inescapable. The servant who watches the prince feast grows hungrier than the beggar outside. The advisor who whispers in the ruler's ear grows more resentful than the enemy across the border. The brutal insight is this: jealousy is unavoidable in human nature. You cannot erase it, but you can anticipate it. You must never assume love is pure enough to protect you from envy. Those closest to you will see your greatness most clearly, but it is that very clarity that can turn affection into silent poison. The wise do not fear strangers' hatred. They guard themselves from the envy at their own table. History does not whisper this truth. It screams it. Betrayal is not a rare accident. It is the oldest play, performed again and again on the same stage, the inner circle. Enemies at the gates may roar, but time and again it is those inside the walls who deliver the fatal blow. From ancient Rome to modern boardrooms, the story repeats itself with chilling precision. Take Caesar, the most powerful man in Rome, stabbed not by foreign invaders but by senators he trusted, and most painfully, by Brutus. Et2, Brute, became the eternal cry of shocked betrayal. Kings, too, were undone not by armies but by those who shared their beds, their blood, or their counsels. Poisoned cups slipped into their hands by wives, advisors, or heirs who once swore undying loyalty. The theater of betrayal has modern acts as well. Business moguls overthrown not by competitors, but by loyal partners who learned every weakness while pretending to serve. Politicians destroyed not only by opponents, but by aides who leaked secrets, allies who defected, or friends who traded loyalty for power. Always the same script, merely updated for new times and costumes. Why does this cycle repeat? Because betrayal requires proximity. A distant enemy can only speculate about your weaknesses, but those closest to you know them intimately. They know your routines, your fears, your desires, and your vulnerabilities. They sit close enough to slip the knife in without you noticing until it's too late. And yet, human beings repeat the same mistake across centuries, believing closeness equals safety. Rulers, generals, and leaders wrap themselves in the illusion of loyalty, imagining that family, lovers, and allies will remain faithful. But loyalty bends under pressure, under jealousy, ambition, fear, or the lure of opportunity. What was once devotion curdles into treachery when circumstances change. The dark truth is that betrayal is not an exception to history. It is its rhythm. Every age produces its Brutus, its Judas, its loyal advisor who poisons the hand that feeds him. Each generation inherits the same theater, and each time, the audience gasps in shock as though it had never seen the play before. Machiavelli, ever the realist, stripped away the romantic illusions. He knew that betrayal was not only possible, but inevitable. He urged rulers to expect it, to watch their inner circle with the same suspicion they reserved for declared enemies. Because betrayal, when it comes, never feels like an attack from outside. It feels like a hand slipping into yours, only to twist the blade it carries. The theater of betrayal will always be staged, because human ambition, envy, and fear are timeless. The actors change, the costumes evolve, but the plot remains the same. Trust opens the door, and betrayal walks through it. To see this pattern is to recognize that history does not repeat by accident. It repeats because the stage is always set within the walls of intimacy. The lesson of betrayal is not trapped in the past. It lives in every office, every relationship, every inner circle today. To ignore it is to repeat history's mistakes. To survive, you don't need paranoia, you need strategy. At work, the mistake most people make is trusting individuals instead of systems. They put blind faith in a friend at the office, only to be outmaneuvered when promotions or recognition are at stake. Machiavelli would advise, build trust in structures, not in people. Let contracts, roles, and accountability guide you, never pure loyalty. A true strategist smiles in meetings but quietly prepares for every outcome, knowing even allies will serve their own interests first. In relationships, emotional independence is the shield. Dependence is the soil where betrayal grows. When you lean too heavily, financially, emotionally, or socially, you hand over leverage. Keep your individuality alive. Love deeply, but remember, love without boundaries becomes vulnerability, and vulnerability without caution becomes self-destruction. The strongest lovers are those who can walk away, not those who cannot live without. In daily life, respect allies but prepare for betrayal. Do not expect betrayal, but anticipate it the way a soldier anticipates battle. You don't need to suspect everyone, you need to recognize the patterns. Flattery that feels excessive is often manipulation. Envy disguised as backhanded compliments is a spark waiting to ignite. Subtle power plays, when someone insists on controlling decisions, resources, or information, are signals that loyalty is already bending. This does not mean isolating yourself. It means engaging with others from a position of strength rather than dependency. Think of yourself as a fortress. Doors can open, visitors can come, but the walls must remain intact. People respect those who maintain boundaries more than those who surrender them. Machiavelli's genius was in stripping illusions away. He did not say trust no one. He said trust with awareness. Allies are useful. Love is powerful. Friendship is enriching. But only when balanced with the knowledge that betrayal is part of human nature. If you live as though loyalty is guaranteed, you will collapse at the first knife in your back. But if you live prepared, betrayal will never surprise you. It will only confirm what you already knew. The dark truth is this: strategy, not sentiment, keeps you safe. Trust with boundaries. Love with caution. Respect with distance. This is not cynicism, it is survival. The people closest to you can be your greatest strength or your deadliest danger. Which they become depends on whether you step blindly into the theater of betrayal or sit above it, watching with clear eyes. Those who understand this move through the world calm, composed, and untouchable. Those who don't are destined to play the same tragic role written thousands of years ago. The one who never saw the knife until it was already inside them. The oldest truths are often the ones we refuse to accept. Betrayal has never come from the distant stranger, the obvious enemy, or the wolf at the edge of the forest. Those dangers are clear, and clarity allows defense. The real threat has always come from the people closest, the trusted friend, the loving partner, the loyal ally. Betrayal is born not in distance, but in intimacy. History repeats this lesson endlessly. Kings have fallen not by armies but by their advisors. Generals have been betrayed not by rival nations but by their own captains. Even in modern times, leaders, families, and lovers are undone not by the outside world, but by those who knew their weaknesses best. The knife that cuts the deepest is not swung by an enemy. It is slipped quietly between the ribs by someone who once whispered comfort. The paradox is chilling. Trust is necessary, but it is also dangerous. To live with no trust is to live isolated and cold. To trust blindly is to walk willingly toward your own destruction. Machiavelli understood this balance. He did not teach fear, he taught clarity. He taught that power lies in seeing people as they are, not as we wish them to be. The poetic truth is this: it is not the wolf in the forest who destroys the king, it is the hand holding the crown beside him. The smile that reassures can be the mask of ambition. The embrace that feels safe can be the moment the blade slides in. What, then, is the answer? Not paranoia but vigilance. Not hatred but awareness. Guard your inner circle with the same care you guard your gates. Let people close but never surrender all defenses. Share trust but keep boundaries. Allow affection, but do not confuse it with safety. Those who fail to see this will always be shocked when betrayal comes. Those who live by it are never surprised. The quiet dominance comes from knowing that closeness is both strength and danger. To master this is to live above betrayal. You will still feel the sting of human nature, but it will never break you, because you expected it, prepared for it, and learned to thrive in spite of it. The final reflection is stark, yet empowering. Protect yourself not by fearing enemies, but by understanding friends. Enemies can only wound what they can reach. Friends hold the keys to your heart, your secrets, and your crown. That is why they are always the most dangerous. Guard your inner circle, for the most dangerous blade will always be the one offered in an embrace.